Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Are you ready to put together the woolly bears? Are you ready to finish the edge of the woolly bear composition from the other day on Coffee Time? Let's go. So here we are looking at the woolly bear piece. And we did this together on Coffee Time, right? We did this kind of as a live piece. I just had it on a small piece of burlap. I finished hooking it here. I hooked up my woolly bears. It looks like it's going to be a fairly mild winter, right? If this is correct weather forecasting. And in the background, I've got my lighter color and a lot of confetti, right? All these little pops of color are known as confetti, right? When you kind of infuse the background with different colors like that. Nice little finish on it, makes it real colorful and fun. So the next thing I need to do, because I want to finish this piece with you, the next thing I need to do is block it. And I'm going to show you why, because people often say, is blocking necessary? The answer is absolutely not, but I'm going to show you how sometimes it is helpful. Now here's Woolly Bear. It looks nice on the top, but as I come down here and I look at it from the side, can you see how it's a bit raised? Like it's not buckled, right? It's just raised up a little bit because this material is packed with this dense wool that I've hooked. So it is a little bit, it's not noticeable, it's not bad, but it is kind of ballooning a little bit on the top as it would. Here's the back of it. So just what you would expect, but you see the material is affected by the fact that I've worked the inside this much. So did I miss a stitch? Where's that? Uh-oh. No, I guess we're okay. So I want to block this just to give it a more sort of uniform look, just to flatten it out a little bit. And we've done this before, but I'll do it once again. I'm just going to get out my ironing stuff and I'm going to show you how I block this and how long I block it before I stitch up the edges. Okay, so I have got my little ironing board thing out on the table, right, because I'm going to iron right in my workspace. And I have a face cloth that is damp that I just wrung out in the sink, right, so it's not soaking wet, it's not dripping wet. I'm just going to put it over the piece, and I've got my iron on super hot. You can hear it sizzle. It's like bacon in the pan. Sorry, vegetarians. And I'm going to press it like this for probably, I don't know, 3 minutes. It's not a timed thing. It's not a measured thing. I'm going to keep looking at it to see if I am flattening it out. Now, just a reminder, I do have other videos about pressing and blocking and stuff like that, finishing in general. You don't want to block something that has acrylic content or synthetic content materials, right? Because you're going to melt them. You don't want to block something that includes effects of height differences, because you will kill the height differences. You will permanently press it. Wool has a very long memory. That's already looking a lot better. I can see, you probably can't, but I can see on one side here, there's steam in my face, billowing up in my face. This part is not quite done yet, so I do need to do this for maybe another minute or two. It is a very small project. Wool has a great memory, so it is going to stay down. It's going to really mellow the piece out, and the loops are going to kind of lean into each other. It's going to give it a very uniform, manufactured, finished kind of a look. If you are looking for something wild and crazy in the way that your piece looks in terms of its pile, then you do not want to block. 2 minutes later, I think we're good. Let's see. Yeah, that looks nice and flat. I'm going to show you that from the side so you can see what I can see. So now I've got a really nice finish here. I mean, this is very, very, very flat, very even, and I am ready to finish the edges. So I'm going to do a very simple finish. I have long videos about finishing with different, edgings, like crocheted edging, whipped edging, all of that. I'm just going to stitch this back. This is a small piece. This is a mug rug. And I am choosing a needle based on, with my vision, based on the size of the eye, so I can put the thread through. But any needle, right, that you can get the thread through is the right needle. This is a sewing job that I'm doing here. So let me thread this up. I'm going to do double, right, just double knot. Sometimes I do a single like running stitch or basting stitch. I'm not doing that here. I'll just get this knotted up. And then we're going to talk about what is the next thing we need to do? What things do we need to consider as we're folding the edges back? We want this to be secure. This is a small piece. It's not a piece that's going to go on the floor, right? We are not worried about the wear and tear to the perimeter of it as we would be if it was on the floor and you were stepping on the edge of it and catching the edge on your shoe, right? Over and over, hundreds, thousands of times. We're not worried about that aspect of it. We're just worried about having the edges tucked under in a tidy way so that the piece is finished. So I've got my double knot here. I'm going to be thoughtful about that. Now, when I flip the piece over, this is what we want to think about. Let me pan out a little bit. This is what we want to think about. I have this much of an edge around. I never sewed the edges. Do you remember? I was lazy and I never sewed the edges. So in theory, what I'm looking to do next is do an envelope fold like this. Now this is burlap. I'm gonna finger press right here. Finger press so I can see what we're working with. And it's gonna want to stay because it's burlap and it's a little bit warm from just having worked it with the iron. I'm gonna fold back here and I'm just gonna get a feel for, as I look at this, how crisp I can get this corner without trimming more. Now this edge is quite big. I might need to trim. I might want to trim this down diagonally. In all honesty, I don't want to do, for a small piece like this, I don't want to do too much extra cutting. And I don't really want to take out the sewing machine. So there are lazy factors that contribute to my decision making. If I am able to just fold it under and press it, am I going to get it good enough sort of edge and corner? And I can press it again once I've got the material in there, right, sewn down, the burlap backing. Am I going to be able to get a nice corner on this? I think I will. I think I will. The question is going to be, with a piece this small, do I feel like it's too bulky, right? Do I feel like it's too bulky underneath? I want to put my mug on it, want to do something with it. Maybe I even want to put it in a shadow box or something like that. It is a bit, considering I just blocked it, right, and it was nice and flat, it does feel a bit lumpy bumpy, and that's because there's a lot of material back here. So I think I will make the adult decision to make the edges a little bit thinner, and I might even bust out the sewing machine. I think I will bust out the sewing machine and do a zigzag in the end. So first, let's get this edge a little bit smaller. This one's just a bit too big. It's adding that much more fabric to the reverse of the piece, and you know, I don't want extra fabric in there. So I got that strand out, right? So I know I can cut a straight line, and I'm just going to trim it a little bit. It's basically an inch, right? So that is a considerable amount. Now, let me try this again. When I get this folded in, is it going to sit a little bit better? It's already sitting a little bit better because you can see with the envelope fold, right, on this corner, that they're not overlapping, right? So overlapping, no thanks. This is going to work better. But I am a little bit worried about sewing it without having secured the edges. The good thing about burlap is I can experiment like this and say, ooh, look it, this is going to be just fine. Burlap's got a good memory. I'm pressing it like this and I can see that the corners are going to look good. I'm just worried about stitching it when they might undo. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm out of the frame. They might undo like that. I'm probably going to have to trim down this beautiful edge too. This has the selvage on it, right? I didn't want, because this is so secure, I didn't want to trim that one too. But I think I'll trim all of them to be about, let's see, I'll trim them all to be about 1.5 inches of a margin, right? So that it's even all the way around. And once I have them all stitched under, one side isn't a hair higher than the rest of it. Okay, so I just did a really tight little zigzag around the edges because, you know, burlap is great. I love burlap. It's cheap. This is a small piece. I do larger pieces still on burlap. I don't, you know, I don't put these pieces down the floor. I wouldn't put an on the floor piece on burlap, but a little piece like this, cheap, easy to work with, but you know, it does want to unravel like crazy times. So you want to think about that. So I've got about a 1.5 inch border all the way around, stitched that so it's not going to unravel, right? It's done unraveling. That is over. So I'm going to flip this back over and I'm going to kind of finger press the edges so I get a good kind of envelope turn to the edges, and I should have, this side looks a little bit longer. That's okay. I'm not going to be overly persnickety, I don't think. So if I were to do that and then just fold that, I want to pull them, right? I don't want to pull so far that it starts to curl up, but I want to fold it over in a way that it is perfectly flush and flat, right? So I can see my loops on the side, but I haven't pulled it so tight that I'm going to make it buckle, right? I don't want to give my mug rug a facelift. I just want to secure it. I'm going to do this to all of the sides and then put little pins in and see what we look like in the front. All right, so I've got my 4 corners in. You can see that looks nice and tidy, right? I've just stitched up the corners, sutured them up, right? They're nice and tidy. They're really holding the thing together. In fact, at this point, you know, with the corners stitched like this, I could really take the pins out and I'm still good. So, I mean, I don't need to, but I'm going to take those 2 out. Got some tomato times happening here. And it's time to just stitch it, right? So this is a very small project. The hard part is over. I'm just going to do what I was doing before, and I'm going to kind of I'm going to come underneath and I'm going to catch the back of the loops. I'm just trying to stitch into the back of the loops or catch wool, because the wool is much more substantial than the holes in the burlap. So I'm just kind of coming behind, making sure it doesn't show on the front, right? I can see it's like puckered down here like a dimple, but nothing's showing. I can't see that silver needle showing. So I'm just getting a feel for, I caught the material so it's nice and stable, but nothing's going to show. No strings are going to show on the front. I just want to get used to feeling that feeling of kind of biting into it deep enough that it works, but not so deep that anything's going to show on the front. And I'm literally just stitching, I caught my corner there. I'm literally just stitching right below that zigzag line I drew, like a running stitch, a basting stitch. I'm just sewing along here, and you can go over your stitch if you want, your line too, your stitching line. If you want to do this instead, you could do that. I am going to get rid of the pins because they are going to make themselves a nuisance. Everything is already secure. I'm just stitching along. I think I will go over the line because it just looks a bit more tidy, and just doing a bunch of small stitches like this. I'm just catching it in the back of the loops and running along as I go. I can feel that the needle is digging in and catching the back of my piece, but I can also tell that it's not going deep enough that it's going to show. I'm going to go right as quick as that. This whole part is down, nothing showing on the front, no dimples. I'm going to go all the way around like this. Okay, we are on the home stretch. Couple more stitches and we are good. Very easy, very fast work stitching this around the edges. I'm going to do, you know, my double, triple, quadruple knots to finish this off here. Very, very simple project. I'm going to hit it one more time with the iron. Now, can you use this finishing technique for a much larger rug? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Exact same thing. It's just going to take some more time because it's more work. Let's get this thing pressed one more time. So here I am back on my sewing machine cover here. And, you know, I come from a costume background, so I always use a press cloth. I just live in fear of ruining my piece by not realizing something fell on the iron, you know what I mean, and is going to stain it or do something bad, or I'm going to ruin the surface of the iron or something like that. So just giving that front a press one more time, but mostly I'm concerned with the back. I want all of my lines to be nice and tidy. It's already very nice. Let's make it even nicer. Right? What a fun short project. And just a reminder, this was called Woolly Bears Mug Rug. This is a project that I started on Coffee Time last Monday, I think. We did quite a bit of it during Coffee Time. It was an impromptu, you draw it on backing project. And then we kind of finished it on our own. And I promised that I would do this video where I finish the edges in the most simple way. Gives you another technique for your bag of tricks. Presto. There's steam rising up off it. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that is hot and flat, and what a beautiful little mug rug. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one and use it. I don't always use the stuff that I make because I make a lot of stuff, but I really like this. It's very tidy, it's very compact, and I have to say, I hope these little woolly bears are correct and that it is going to be a mild winter with just a little bit of snow for sledding days and a few school days. I will see you next time at Ribbon Candy Hooking.